Привет, друзья! Как дела? My name is Fedor. Welcome back to Be Fluent in Russian podcasts. And today we will talk about a very important person in the Russian culture and Russian history that is also very influential, or who is very influential in the whole world, but in a very specific area. So let's listen to the text. We won't have any questions. Instead, we'll break down the text line by line very attentively. So it's going to be more of a text breakdown along with, of course, the audio version of it and all of these things. So listen to it attentively, and here we go. Представьте себе юного Константина Алексеева, наследника московской купеческой семьи. В их особняке проходили роскошные балы, но маленького Костю манили не танцы, а закулисье любительских спектаклей, которые он устраивал с братьями и сестрами. Он мог часами подбирать костюмы, чертить эскизы декораций и даже репетировать перед зеркалом, изображая эмоции. К 20 годам он уже был одержим идеей сделать театр правдивым. Ему было мало пышных костюмов и громких реплик. Он хотел, чтобы актеры жили на сцене, а не просто играли. В 1898 году судьбоносная встреча в Славянском базаре с Владимиром Немировичем Данченко длилась 18 часов. И родился Московский художественный театр. Там родились бессмертные постановки Чехова, которые поначалу казались публике слишком тихими и медленными. Но именно в этой тихости было то, что позже весь мир назовет психологическим театром. Станиславский был перфекционистом. Он мог довести актера до отчаяния, требуя не показывать, а чувствовать. Говорят, однажды он заставил актеров целый день сидеть в темной комнате, чтобы они прочувствовали, каково быть заключенными. И только потом начал репетицию. В 1930-е годы, когда его здоровье уже подводило, он работал над книгами о своей системе. Он говорил: «Любите искусство в себе, а не себя в искусстве». Фраза, которую до сих пор цитируют в театральных школах по всему миру. Okay, that is it. You may not even know who the person is and what he does from this text. This time we had a text that is less factual, but more of a story-like. So, let's break it down line by line. I'll be highlighting all the important words for you guys to take away. And in your pursuit to fluency in Russian, there has to be two major things. Number one is your typical academic academic approach to studying Russian. You're studying vocabulary, you're studying words, grammar, things like that. You slowly learn the Russian language. But the second part to your Russian learning should be the feeling of the Russian language. Today, try to feel what the text is saying. Meaning, feeling the nuance, feeling the endings, feeling the grammar kind of doing a dance. Think of your academic approach to Russian as more of learning individual dance moves. But now it's all coming together in one string of text. Not only is this string of text very natural and authentic, exactly what a native would write, but it's also a kind of point of the Russian culture, of the way Russians communicate. We have to differentiate between our communication, what we are used to in our native language, to what Russian is doing with its communication. Sometimes the grammar complexity can take over your study guide and can take over your study process, rather. But we need to circle back to more cultural things, more deeper things that you need to feel. So try to feel what is being said. Try to feel how it was written, why it was written, etc. Besides the technical approach to the Russian language, we have to feel it. So, here we go. Представьте себе юного Константина Алексеева. Представьте, imagine. This is a command. Представьте, imagine. This is conjugated to an imperative form. Представить is to imagine in your head. Представьте. Now it's a command. Представьте себе, imagine, it's себе here really doesn't carry any meaning. It's kind of imagine to yourself. We could have eliminated this себе and say представьте юного Константина Алексеева, etc. Представьте себе, imagine for yourself. So things that we don't say in English, imagine for yourself, as an example, we do say in Russian sometimes, so don't get confused if it doesn't make automatic sense to you. All of a sudden, maybe in 2-3 years of hearing this enough, it will become natural to you too. Юного Константина Алексеева. Юного here is young. Now, you probably know the word молодого. Молодой and юный, they talk about youth from two different perspectives. Молодой is more age. Юный is more like not ripe. Somebody who is still naive as a person, very not experienced. So юный is more of not experienced, while молодой is more young when it comes to the age. Konstantina Alexeyeva is the name of Stanislavski, his original name. Konstantin Alexeyev, and not Konstantin Stanislavski. So, представьте себе юного Константина Алексеева. Imagine young Константин Станиславский. Наследника московской купеческой семьи. And I guess an offspring of a Moscow. Купеческая is a trader, a person who would buy stuff. Купец. You might know the word купить, to buy. Купец is a person who buys. So he is the offspring of a Moscow trader family. Наследника московской купеческой семьи. Now, let's take a step back with this too. Наследник is the main word here. Наследник of what? The offspring of, or like not offspring. More of, yeah, I guess an offspring, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Московской купеческой. Московской and купеческой are both adjectives. In Russian, we have a strong grammar sense to where we cannot just say Moscow trader, which can be an adjective, it can be a noun, right? In Russian, we have to use an adjective when we describe people or things. And how do we know that it's an adjective? Well, московской. This skoy is the ending of an adjective. Купеческой. Skoy again, the ending of an adjective. В их особняке проходили роскошные балы. Or балы, both stresses are okay. In their mansion, there was incredible balls. So he is from a family of, I guess, rich people. Но маленького Костю, but the small Костя, манили не танцы, was drawn not by dance. Манить is to lure, to draw someone. Но маленького Костю манили не танцы. But the little Kostya is the short word for Konstantin, diminutive form. Was drawn not by the dances, а закулисье любительских спектаклей, but behind the scenes of amateur plays. Закулисье is a very specific word to behind the scenes. It's the actual behind the scenes place. When the curtains, actually behind the curtains space. If you imagine a theater, you have curtains, right, that kind of stop the play where they set up the decorations, and that's what drew him, is the things behind it. Которую он устраивал, which he held с братьями и сестрами, with brothers and sisters. So he, маленький Костя, was drawn not by the dances during the balls, but the amateur plays that he and his siblings put together. So again, if I were to translate this and say it in English, right, that him and his siblings would put together. So if you have that in your head, you can never come to this sentence, которые он устраивал с братьями и сестрами, which he did with brothers and sisters, right? So you have the English logic and then you have the Russian sentence. That's why you have to listen to a lot of Russian, spoken Russian, talk a lot in Russian, and listen to your counterpart who speaks to you. Because these things, the structure of the Russian sentence needs to make sense. It needs to feel right. When you're only speaking English and your main logic builder is English, you will 1,000% miss this. To where your thoughts and your sentences would be very English-like. Okay? So that's how we gotta think about it, okay? Который он устраивал, which he held, с братьями и сестрами. And I guess the real lesson here that I'm trying to get across with these bits and pieces of information is that when you learn Russian, you will come to a point where learning through English is no longer good. Is learning through English explanations like we are doing here is no longer good. Because you are still doing the academic route, which you need to do more of the feelings route. So at some point in your Russian journey, if you're already advanced and you're listening to this, try eliminating English as much as you can. Trust me, your English will not get worse. If you just do it for like 6-month period, you can always go back to having English in your life. What do I mean by not having any English or your native language? Your phone, switch that to Russian. Whatever movies you watch the Russian movies. Music, news, switch to Russian. Unless it's the essentials of your life. Like, of course, speaking to your family and friends, you won't switch to Russian. But if you need to know the news of your county or of your city, of course you can watch that in English. Of course, those are essential things. But things that are non-essential, that are more for fun, switch to Russian. And that will really put your brain kind of gears in fifth gear, in the quickest gear possible, because you will need to figure out what they're saying. And our brain is pretty good at that. Of course, you can say, well, I'm already 50 years old or 60 years old or 70 years old, maybe even 40 years old, right? My brain is no longer good. This method is great for kids. No, it's not. I know a number of people who've moved to a different country and they acclimated, whether that be in the US, Russia, Europe. Our brains are only as flexible as we allow them to be. Okay? So let's get further into the text. I guess we can shorten this now. I had a one plan with this text, but I guess midway it changed. So let's speed things up. Он мог часами подбирать костюмы. He could put together costumes for hours. Часами is a great word. Часами means for hours. For many, many hours. Часами. And if you know grammar, this is instrumental case. Чертить эскизы декораций. Draw the, I guess, drafts of the decorations. И даже репетировать перед зеркалом. And even rehearse in front of the mirror. Изображая эмоции. Portraying emotions. К 20 годам. By the time he was 20. К 20 годам is the phrase that you say by 20 years old. Он был уже одержим. He was already consumed идеей сделать театр правдивым. By an idea to make theater truthful. Ему было мало пышных костюмов и громких реплик. It was not enough for him to have all of these wonderful and colorful costumes and loud phrases, loud words. Он хотел, he wanted, чтобы актеры жили на сцене, in order for actors to live on stage. Он хотел, чтобы. He wanted to. Чтобы is a must here when you want for something to happen. Я хочу, чтобы, and then another action. Чтобы актеры жили на сцене, for actors to live on stage. Они просто играли, and not just played on stage. В 1898 году, in 1898, судьбоносная встреча, a faithful, not faithful, a meeting that was faded, I guess, that had a lot of fate in it. В славянском базаре, in Slavic bazaar or market, с Владимиром Немировичем Данченко, with Vladimir Nemirovich Danchenko is his double last name. Длилось 18 часов, lasted for 18 hours. И родился Московский художественный театр. Moscow художественный театр. How can I say this? How can I translate this? I guess Moscow Theater. Put it that way. Там родились бессмертные постановки Чехова. There were born immortal plays of Chekhov, которые поначалу, which at first, казались публике слишком тихими и медленными, seemed to the audience to be too slow and too quiet, because they were used to loud exclamations and loud voices and all of that. Но именно в этой тихости было то, but in this exact quietness there was something, что позже весь мир назовет психологическим театром. But later, the whole world would call psychological theater. And I think if you're a theater person, you know the Stanislavski method, of course. This is like method acting. And method acting came from Stanislavski's method. Stanislavski был перфекционистом. Stanislavski was a perfectionist. Он мог довести актера до отчаяния. He could bring an actor to despair. Требуя не показывать, а чувствовать. Demanding not to show, but to feel. It's a very big difference between feeling sadness and portraying sadness. And Stanislavski was really the first to talk about that and bring the realness to stage. Говорят, people say, однажды он заставил актеров, once he forced actors, целый день сидеть в темной комнате, to sit in the dark room for the whole day, чтобы они прочувствовали, so they could feel through, or deeply feel, прочувствовать means to deeply feel, каково быть заключенным, how it is to be a prisoner. И только потом начинал репетицию, and only after that the rehearsal started. В 1930-е годы, in 1930s, когда его здоровье уже подводило, when his health kind of betrayed him, that's kind of the word подводить is not to be reliable. Он работал над книгами о своей системе. He worked on the books about his system. Он говорил, he would say, любите искусство в себе, love the art in you, а не себя в искусстве, and not yourself in art. Фраза, the phrase, которую до сих пор цитируют, which is still quoted в театральных школах по всему миру. In theater schools across the entire world. Okay? I hope that this was useful. We didn't do as much of an analysis as I planned to, but it's still good. So that is all. Join Be Fluent for you guys to learn Russian, the real Russian with the real lessons where you can use the Russian that you learn in the conversation. We have a number of different things that you can do, and I would love for you guys to check it out. And it's a 7-day free trial too, so check it out with the first link in the description. That is all. See you all next time. Пока-пока.